Hey guys, this is Red and Blue, your channel on YouTube for all things PSG in English. Please subscribe. Today, I've waited a little bit. I didn't want to jump on the bandwagon, but I'm sure it hasn't escaped your notice as PSG fans. There are a lot of conversations and question marks which are starting to really come out in terms of our new goalkeeper's performance so far. Lucas Chevalier is a little bit under fire. He's had a few mistakes in his early games with PSG, a few really troubling mistakes, if I'm honest. So yeah, I didn't want to jump on the bandwagon, but at the same time, like I do feel it's legitimate to kind of take a step back and take a look at what he's been doing, what were our expectations for him, and essentially what comes next as well. So I'll just start with this, which is his mistake so far, and what's being told about him, what are people reproaching of him, and essentially a few things, which is that a lot of the goals that we're taking in this season seem to be following mistakes on his part, and he has, in particular, three big mistakes that I went back and actually looked at the highlights of our games and so on. Three big mistakes that are clearly leading to goals. The first one is against Tottenham in the European Super Cup. The second Tottenham goal is very slow to go to ground. His hand is not very firm. The ball goes half under him and ends up in the goal. So that one is a little bit of a disaster. The goal against Marseille, so a cross from Marseille that's deflected, that ends up going very high up in the air and dropping back. He goes out in his area to try to take control of it, but really misses himself and misses it completely. And that ends up being an own goal from Marquinhos, and honestly a pretty ridiculous one. And then finally, the one that people are talking about right now, which is the one against Lille, with that Mbappé shot from the edge of the area at the 85th minute, which admittedly goes between the legs of Beraldo, but is also very, very slow in terms of his reflexes to drop to ground. And yeah, it seems like a shot that he should be in a position to stop, quite frankly, and so that's a mistake for him. On top of this, there's also question marks, because even when it doesn't lead to a goal, or some cases where it does, there's a lot of question marks. So I'll give you an example. People have been talking as well about the third goal against Toulouse, which is in ways pretty similar to the Mbappé one against Lille. It's a shot from right outside the area, or edge of the area, and it's a bit slow to go to ground. It's a stronger shot than Mbappé, and it's better placed and so on. So it's not as obvious in terms of mistake, but yeah, he is a little bit slow. And then I think in the game against Barcelona, there's a couple of times where his positioning is a little bit shaky. He gets saved by defenders coming back and deflecting on the line. And so there's a couple of examples like this where he is not really showing his skills and not really showing, quite frankly, the levels that you would expect from a starting goalkeeper in PSG. And what's troubling as well is that there's a lot of there's a lot of questions in terms of the technical elements of the mistakes, being slow to react, not having a firm grasp, going out and getting the ball in the air. Those are very fundamental parts of the goalkeeper's role, and so it's not it's not he's doing something wonderful and failing at that. It's just basics that aren't really getting delivered, and I think that's where there's a lot of frustration that's mounting. At the same time, I do want to be balanced, and I don't want to just jump up and down on him, because I don't think it's entirely fair. First, we've seen him do some really good saves. The first goal against Tottenham, for example, that Tottenham scores, he has this amazing save on his line that unfortunately drops back onto a Tottenham player who scores, but like there's a really, really strong reflex save. He really does very well in the penalty shootout. So there are like things in these games that he does very well. Against Atalanta, he has a strong game. His passing and distribution is excellent, and I think that's a theme even beyond the Atalanta game. And yeah, there's a few games as well against Auxerre. He has an amazing save with his arm, like very, very strong, and kind of reflex from really not far out. And like there's a couple of others as well in other games. I don't remember if it's not or Angers, but like you know, you can see that he has got the potential, and that it's not like a complete fraud versus what he was doing in Lille. And I think in terms of what we brought him in for, it's kind of funny in a way, because I remember last season, like when PSG was starting to look at it, people were telling us like, oh yeah, he's excellent with his foot and his passing and his distribution, and so it makes sense that this is what Luis Enrique is looking at. And then when he actually signed with PSG, people started saying, actually, like his passing is good, but not that great, and maybe it's not that much of a step change with Donnarumma. But at the same time, like his reflex and his shot stopping on the line is actually better than what we described in the past, and so he's actually closer to Donnarumma on that side. And ultimately, what we're seeing now is a very, very strong goalkeeper for his passing and distribution. I think like the progress that we've made in this area, it's very clear, evident, and like you can't really say anything. At the same time, like, yes, there's flashes of brilliance when it comes to shot stopping, but like I said, there's a lot of basic technical mistakes which really call things into question. And so ultimately, like, what's next for him? Obviously, it's still very, very early in his PSG career. I think for me, like, what I would say is that, obviously, I do advocate that we should give him time and we give him space. He's a 23-year-old goalkeeper who just moved from his childhood club of Lille, where he went through the academy, became pro, and so on. Moving to a club like PSG, that's actually the reigning European champion. It's for a lot of money. It's a complete lifestyle change. It's a huge move professionally. And yeah, and like, so like it would take time for him to absorb that. It's also like fundamentally like a different job being goalkeeper of PSG and being goalkeeper of Lille. And I know a lot of people have said that, but it's completely true. He doesn't have as many shots to stop as he would have in Lille, but any mistake, people are going to jump up and down on him. And in Lille, ultimately, if he had like 2-3 mistakes in the first 10 games of the season, I think no one would bat an eyelash and would just get lost in the sea of saves that he can make. In PSG, it's the other way around. It's like you need to be strong on your fundamentals and not miss any beats, and only then do you get a chance to go above the top and actually shine. And so it's a fundamentally different position. I think in terms of how he approaches this game, also it's very different. He's not going to be as involved in the game as he would be against Nice, in Lille. And so as a result, he needs to stay focused. He needs to stay concentrated, and it's simply put much harder to do as well for him. And I think as well, like for me, what I wonder, there's some things that I wonder fundamentally is that, so he just left like his childhood club where he went through the academy, where he became pro and had his first like few pro seasons, now moving into a very big structure with a lot of staff around him and a lot of professionalism. I do think that would come with a lot of changes to his routine, and also like a lot of instant advice and feedback on like things he should be doing differently and stuff like and areas of progress. And so that might also explain some of the like what seems like rookie mistakes, where all of a sudden like the things that you were doing automatically in Lille, because that's always the way that you've been doing them, all of a sudden now you're getting asked to do them in a different way, and so like it gets you in your head a little bit, and that can explain the half second misses and the half second lateness and so a little bit of this. And ultimately, like football players at this level, a big part of it is in the head. You start having a couple of misses, you start like seeing journalists talking about it. Yeah, it's difficult to recuperate from. At this point, he's been actually like very good at handling the pressure, in my opinion. It doesn't really let any cracks shows, and even in games where he makes mistake, like against Tottenham, for example, he makes a mistake, but he bounces back and goes on to like really give us the win in the penalty shootout. So like it doesn't crumble, and for young goalkeepers, that shows a lot of strength, and hopefully that's something that's going to serve him well in the long term. And then just to answer like the questions I've got on screen, what's next? I mean, like, yeah, like let's give him time. Let's see how he does. In any case, like the mercato is closed until December at absolute best, probably until June for a goalkeeper position. So for me, he's got 1 year to show what he can do, to show progress, and to show himself getting comfortable. We took a bet on a young goalkeeper, so I don't think it was fair to expect, a finished, polished product who was ready to step into the shadow of Donnarumma, who took 4 years to get to the best goalkeeper in the world level that he was at. At the same time, Chevalier last season, he was the best goalkeeper in Ligue 1. He was nominated for the Yashin trophy in the Ballon d'Or. So that's not nothing. And it really does show that like there's some serious skills involved. You don't get to those places just by being in the right place at the right time and being a bit lucky. So that's where let's give him time to for his potential to come through, for him to get used to the PSG environment, for the staff to work on him and start like polishing some of his rougher edges, for him to have better communication with his defense, better understanding of what players are going to do. So like Beraldo getting the balls in between his legs, for example. Now he knows that. He knows that Beraldo, like, unfortunately, can only be trusted so far. So that's hopefully a mistake that we don't see again. And then, there is a conversation around goalkeepers that's still going to be happening anyway, because Safonov, who's our number 2 goalkeeper, is Russian, and we told Zabarny, our Ukrainian defender, when we brought him on this summer, that he wouldn't be playing with a Russian because of the conflict. And so at some point, whether that's in December or more likely next summer, we're going to have to show Zabarny that we are trying to push Safonov out. And Safonov is not that great either, from what we've seen. And so at that point, there will be a conversation anyway in terms of do we bring in really a number 2? Do we bring in someone who can challenge from number 1? Or do we bring in a new starter? Because at that point, Chevalier will not have convinced, and ultimately, we don't feel he's going to get to the level that we need. So those are going to be questions, but I think all in due time. For now, let's chill, let's give him time, let's give him the opportunity to show what he does. Let's not forget as well, obviously goalkeeper, it's always a funny position, but Donnarumma for 3 years and a half or 4 years and a half in PSG, people were jumping up and down at every one of his mistakes and ready to kick him out and so on, only for him to become club legend in the last 6 months, by really contributing to the UCL run. And in other positions, if I think of Vitinha, who came in at the beginning, people thought he was a dud. Fabian Ruiz last season, it was the same thing. People were complaining, saying he shouldn't play, he should be sold, and so on. So there's example after example of players that take a little bit of time to settle in, that take a little bit of time to understand what's being asked of them, and take a little time to raise to the levels that we have in PSG now. So let's show that patience, and come December, come June, we can have that conversation and really take a harder look back, take a harder look at the market, take a harder look at the team, and see how we want to move forward. So yeah, this is what I'm feeling on Chevalier, trying to keep it balanced, but let me know in the comments what you think. I've started to see actually a lot of comments with opinions and so on. Obviously, it's always frustrating when a keeper makes a mistake because it just jumps in your face in a way that's like really hard to ignore. But yeah, let me know what you think on this. And yeah, if you made it so far, as always, like please drop a like on the video. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed to the channel. Hit the bell to get notified. And don't forget, ici c'est Paris!